Close and secure all possible entrances to your home. Switch off all lights. Do not look out of any windows. Do not respond to any knocks on your windows or doors until the all clear is given. Remain silent at all times.
It's like, this dude's too cool for long sentences.
He said the key words. He said,
streaming live around the world, this is Paper Cuts
We call it a poop bag.
with Brad and Jay.
Yeah, it's got a new show.
It came to you like basically straight from my brain.
We're not going to have those devil books in here.
We are live.
All right, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a brand new show, another exciting episode of Paper Cuts. My name is Jay. Thanks so much for being here. And the dude over here, did I point
There you
right
go.
this time? Gotcha.
Pointed right. You finally got it. 14 episodes in.
Yeah, the guy just looking for a brand new co-host
Oh, yeah, because
because I can't tag people properly.
make sure we have the right
Twitter.
guest. Do we have the right guest down here, Jay?
Exactly. Yeah, it's Brad Proctor. You know him from his channel, Brad Proctor. It's the one and only Brad Proctor.
What's going on,
How you
guys?
doing,
I'm doing pretty good, Jay. How about you?
Either we're supposed to have a storm tonight.
Oh, yeah?
So if I lose power or whatever, then carry on without me. Okay.
I will.
We don't care about that.
I'll hold you in my heart forever, Jay.
We couldn't be more excited with our guest that we have for you tonight. This is pretty exciting. And I think it may get a bit spicy at times. little foreshadowing, right? Tonight we have the writer of Go Down Hard, the writer of To Offer Her Pleasure, and she has a selection in the new The Dead Inside anthology that we're going to talk about a little bit. We're going to touch on it. You might be hearing about that all over Twitter. Everyone give it up for Allie C.
Yay, thanks. Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I always would say Ali Seay, I guess because the Y's on the end. Every single time. I was like, nope, it's C.
I actually sent her a message when provided my review, just wanted to make sure I said it right. So.
Everybody says it wrong, so I answered to many variations. Totally fine.
And I like your Twitter name, Ali C, and then whatever, see the dog run or whatever it says like that.
Oh, yes. My Halloween name.
So how you doing tonight? What are you normally doing on a Friday night when you're
Drinking
not talking
wine and watching television.
Yeah,
That was a quick answer. Drinking wine.
exactly.
Really quick.
Yeah. So we're cutting into her wine drinking on a Friday night.
It's okay. I would drink wine, but my teeth turn black, so I don't think that would be right.
We got to
What do
get
you
some
normally-
wine into you. It might be pretty fun.
What do you normally like to watch? Just whatever?
Right now, at this time, usually I have something stupid in the background and I'm reading. Like I need noise to read, so
Do you really?
yes.
I can't do that.
Can't read in quiet. See, and when I read
Oh,
in
see.
quiet, my brain just starts to go and do all kinds of stuff.
Well, see, my house is, I'm the only guy in my house. I have two little girls and my wife, and I have a beast of a dog. And it's so noisy. So I find myself reading the same paragraph like 7 times until everybody gets in their rooms and everything quiets down. So,
Yeah,
I
I'm
can't
like
do
Jay.
that.
I have to have complete silence to read, or I can read, but I won't remember what's happened 10 minutes from now.
exactly.
Can't do it. Can't read in
Exactly.
silence.
So I'm jealous of that skill because I would read so much more if I
It's a
could read with
mom
noise.
skill. It's a mom skill. I'm telling you.
It must be.
Where's this Baltimore accent that we're supposed to be hearing? Because
Really?
you just sound normal to me. I mean, is
I
that,
listen to my voice when I am on something like this, and I'm like, "Oh my god, is that really me?" You could cut that with a knife. It's terrible.
See, I don't hear it at all.
Thank
just-
God. I lied, everybody.
well, I'm a little hard of hearing too to begin with. So,
Okay, well, that's to my advantage. So,
are you close to the Inner Harbor? Is that what it's called?
yeah, it's like a 15-20 minute drive, I guess.
I think I went through there like 20 years ago, and that's all I remember. That was the name of it. So
I
yeah,
live here, and I don't like to go there. It's too
Yeah.
much stuff. It's just stuff everywhere.
it is.
It's overwhelming.
How long? Maybe 30 years ago I went through there. Oh my God! Now I'm dating myself, but yeah.
Old. So
Do you
are you
do you do many interviews like this?
No,
No.
I
So-
hide. I don't. I think the
So-
only thing I have done is Ali C. The only thing I've done is I did Curse Morsels with Eric, right?
Okay.
Because
Okay.
he's like super nice, and
Right.
I didn't.
and we're not super nice. So it's
No,
just,
he's super nice. It's the only reason I'm here, and I'm set to do another one next week. I think so.
nice.
The goal is to get them to be normal, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. I doubt it.
Well, we're not normal, so everybody fits right in.
Well, it depends on, I was going to say, it depends on who you talk to, but if you talk to any of our previous guests, no, I guess they're not going to say that about us. So. So we have a few people in our stream already. Bradley, who do we have here?
Got Heidi's here.
Hey, Heidi.
I don't know who this is. Be some dog tour.
That's Jason.
Is that Jason? He's making sure your laptop's plugged in right.
He's watching in stereo.
Yeah, he's probably getting like a delay. Yeah. Hey, Lewis.
Lewis is all the way in the UK, right?
Yeah, he's 5 hours ahead of us, so he's like in tomorrow right now.
Oh, wow.
James is here. James here for every show.
James needs to actually do our theme song, our opening theme song.
Yeah, he plays guitar pretty good.
Yeah.
So,
right,
Allie, I want to
get in some business here.
Get you ready to hit the hard-hitting questions?
I
you ready?
suppose so, yeah.
Okay,
all right.
Sure.
So you've been writing horror for not very long, right? How long ago did Go Down Hard come out? This year or last year?
Go Down Hard came out November 2020, and before that, the only thing I had out was a short in The Big Book of Blasphemy. Was my first published horror thing, except for a couple things I did years ago that were very nondescript and forgettable. So,
and I looked at your website. It said you've been writing for 15 plus years, and you've been writing in a different genre for. Is erotica? Is that fair to say what it's called, or is it something different?
Yeah, erotic romance. It depends on who you ask. So
okay. So
erotic.
what was the mindset of I want to switch to horror now? What was the jump for?
Horror is what I've always liked to read. That's what I like to read. That's what I like to watch. That's always been what I liked. So I accidentally found out that I was good at writing dirty stuff. And I built a career out of it, and I did 15 years of that. And then
Dear Pit House Forum.
My brain just started getting tired of, I still write. I write some stuff, but I wanted to write the stuff that life is short. So I wanted to write the stuff that I wanted to write. And I started just doing short stories. And then I got the idea for Go Down Hard, and that thing wrote itself. So
nice.
Right. You don't use the Allie C name for the other stuff you write.
Nope.
What is the name if somebody wants to go check out your other work?
your naughty works.
It's Summer Marsden. It's SOMMER and then Marsden.
There you go, guys. A few people were going to ask that in the chat here.
Which is why I laughed when Jay said there was a naughty. You said something. There's a little naughty bit, and I was like, clearly Jay has never read my other work because that was the tamest thing in the world.
Well, I was trying to keep it a little.
It was
tongue in cheek.
Not naughty.
Yeah. I was going to keep the rated R stuff for later. I mean, just to make sure everybody was in bed. One way or the other.
Right.
Brad, get your head out of the gutter. Come on.
Jason's putting it down there for everybody. Marston. So with your romance novels, was that indie published? Was it self-published, or did you go through publishers to do all that stuff?
Most of them were through publishers. Various publishers. I had eggs in all kinds of baskets. So I actually had a lot of stuff in the UK. With a particular press. I think they did my first, what I called official book. But I worked with a lot of different publishers.
So switching into horror was.
Well, let me ask her this real quick, because I asked this for everybody. Have you ever written any kind of space erotica?
No.
Okay.
Dang it, Jay! This was your one opportunity.
I know.
To get space erotica.
I've asked that in almost every episode so far. So maybe for the future.
Space is not my thing.
Maybe. Well,
just do your normal book, but just put it on a spaceship.
Yeah. Put it out in space.
Yeah, we'll just
in another galaxy far away.
Okay. Do there need to be helmets or?
Helmets is all they have on.
If that's what you're calling it these days, I mean. And it's one last thing about that. Are you planning, or have you thought of writing any kind of COVID story in that genre?
There's COVID.
Because there are some that are.
There's COVID erotica, and it's just wild.
There already is, which is.
That blows my mind.
Yeah, I've seen them. I didn't investigate, but yeah, I've seen them.
There's one. It's called kissing the coronavirus or something. That's what it's called.
That's the one I saw. I don't.
Just.
I don't know.
don't condone that one.
Minotaurs I can handle, but you know. The
Minotaurs.
There's Minotaurs, Bigfoot.
See that's blending the genre over into horror, so it's all connected.
Yeah, there was a novella that I wrote that was kind of horror based, and that's one of the first things that I was like, maybe try hopping. But what was surprising was when I hopped, she's not dead, but she's kind of on vacation. My pen name.
So she might come back at some point.
She's still alive and she still writes, but she's not. It's me who's in, doing the writing now.
What if, like, one of your horror novels or novellas, you actually had a character named Summer Marsden? I wonder if anybody would pick up on like an Easter egg or something.
That's a good Easter egg.
Really, really funny is someone wrote me one time when I was full-time Summer, and they were like, "Oh, I didn't know that there was anybody named Summer Marsden," and I was a fairly, active, prolific, and in a lot of stuff. And she was like, "I didn't know there was anybody named Summer Marsden. I named my character that." And I was like, "Okay."
Do they spell it the same and everything?
There's nothing you can do about it. So I was like, "Oh, okay." I think I just kind of let that slide through my inbox and left it there.
So has it been a big difference for you going from writing the romance stuff to writing horror? Has that been a hard transition at all?
I thought it would be. It really wasn't. I thought it would be hard not to slide sex into everything.
I mean, horror and sex go together pretty well, though.
But honestly, most of my stuff, there really isn't. There might be. Well, Go Down Hard has its moments, but
it does. There's some tension in there.
It has some tension, and it has some. Each character goes through their own mental process, but there's really no sex in anything that I've written so far that I had anticipated might be difficult for me to kind of put that by the wayside. And it hasn't been. I don't really think about it unless it's actually pertinent. So,
I mean, there is a scene in To Offer a Pleasure, but that's just a straightforward.
Yeah, that's sort of like it's like a shut the bedroom door scene, sort of. Because you don't really, plus you're talking about two characters who are younger.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So that was a no-brainer that you just kind of give the idea.
Yeah. With coming into horror, did you want to go with publishers like you had in the romance stuff, or did you think about self-pub anything at all, or?
I would self-pub if I felt like I had a handle on all the many moving pieces of it. And it's an enormous amount of work if you're going to do it right. It's an enormous amount of work and thought and money and time. And I got lucky and fell ass backwards into two really great publishers. So I took that. I took it and I ran.
The first one's Grindhouse, right?
Yeah, it was Grindhouse. And I had sent it somewhere and it made the cut for like the top whatever. They have so many, and they were like, "You made the cut, and we'll let you know." And then they came back and they were like, "It didn't make the final cut." And just then Grindhouse opened up their novella submissions, and I was like, oh, "Okay, what the hell?" They're going to reject it, but it's totally fine. It's totally fine. I'll just send it. They can reject it. And I sent it, and then I heard back from Carrie, and she was like, "We'd like to do it," and I'm like, "What?"
Nice. Yes.
I was like completely flabbergasted. And she was like, "But it might not be till at that point, it might not be till 2021. But I've been doing this long enough that I'm pretty fast with edits and stuff. And we just kind of got it where it needed to be in time for them to put it out before 2020 ended.
So after the first,
2019, no, 2020.
Yeah. It all blurs together now.
Blend together now.
So after that first rejection, before Grindhouse decided, let's go with it. I mean, were you ready to? Were you going to do it self, or are we in plans to do that? Or
no, I was going to keep shopping it a little bit because I had only sent it to that one place. So Grindhouse was the second place it hit.
Okay,
and it took it. So actually, To Offer Her Pleasure is the one that I thought I was going to have to hit up everybody and their mother, and nobody would take it.
Yeah.
And Sam happened to read a novella. Yes, that's it. That's my baby. He happened to read a novella that I sent him before that, and it wasn't quite right for Weird Punk. And I was like, well, I have this thing, I have this weird thing. And he said, yeah, send it to me. So I made sure it was as clean as I could, and I sent it to him. And when he messaged me and he's like, I love it. I want to do it. So I sat at the dinner table and cried because I thought that was the book that I was going to have to send everywhere and nobody was going to take. That was going to be the one I'd have to self-publish.
Yeah. Sam's good people. He knows it's cool because he's got the feeling of the book he wants for Rear Punk Books in his head, and it's just I know it's just a feeling, and when he knows, he knows.
Yeah.
And then when he knows,
there's a certain aesthetic with him.
Yeah. I'm a big Rear Punk Books fan. I became
You're the unofficial
the official unofficial spokesperson for him earlier this year. So yeah.
So was Go Down Hard the actual first horror novella you wrote, or did you write something before that and that was just the first one you published?
That was the first one. This is when you could do this. I sat in the cafe at our local Barnes and Noble and I wrote it and, drank
wine.
not drank, but drank buckets of tea. And I just sat there and wrote it. In fact, the fight scene, the big fight scene between Jack and Meg, I remember sitting there and just like randomly cackling out loud, and people would look at me and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm in my own little world. It's fine. So
because it turns out, without giving too much of a spoiler in case anybody hasn't read it, but it kind of turns into like a action adventure type with the second half of it. So I mean, it
takes a hard left turn.
It does. It's got the stabby stuff for the horror aspect of it early, for the slasher part, and then it turns into like I'm trying to think. There was a movie I was trying to compare it to for my review where they weren't married. It was a man and woman, might have been married, and they were assassins on different sides.
Is it Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
Maybe.
Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie?
That's very much possible, yes. Where it was like, they had this relationship where they were nice to each other, like during dinner and stuff.
And then they try to kill each other.
It just all goes to hell after that. Yeah. So hope I didn't give away too much in that book. But
somebody asked me and I was like, do you remember Spy versus Spy?
Yeah, and I was getting that. Yeah. Yeah. From Mad Magazine.
Yeah. Sort of like that.
Mad Magazine was this magazine.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about it, Jay.
Brad's young.
I used to watch Mad TV and stuff. The little redheaded kid with the freckles.
Yeah.
Mad Magazine.
I like Mad TV.
Crack Magazine. I used to when I was a kid. Yeah. That just
Jay, you said
there, didn't we? Yeah.
You said with reading Go Down Hard, it was sort of remind you of Jack Ketchum a little bit. Is that what you said?
I
was inspired by it, something like that.
I got a little bit of a feeling at times. Just some of the brutal scenes, very descriptive. So yeah. So I mean, leading into that, I mean, what was some of your inspirations you pulled from when writing Go Down Hard?
Well, one of them was The Girl Next Door by Jack Ketchum.
Nice segue. I was just getting, as far as like the brutality of some of the scenes, I was kind of comparing them with.
Well, it was a couple months before I actually started it, but I had read that, which I know it sounds weird, but it's possibly one of my favorite books. It's a very hard book to read, but it's impeccably done, and it's it's one of those books you want to pick it up and read more, even though what you're going to read is going to be awful, but the narrative is so well done. And then we had watched 68 Kill, the movie based on Brian Smith's book 68 Kill.
Yeah, I haven't seen that yet.
So if you haven't seen that, you need to fucking watch this movie. It's so much fun. It's insane. So those two things had been in my head, and then just I don't know. I think most writers, you get these little snippets of stuff and your brain sort of in the background starts to knit it all together.
Right.
So after like 60 or 70 runs, listening to this one particular song with those two things in my head, that's what I ended up with.
Yeah.
So, Meg's name was a nod towards Meg in The Girl Next Door. And Jack, I would love to say, was a nod toward Jack Ketchum, but it really wasn't. It was just, I love the name Jack. So there we are. A very, very boring reason to name someone Jack. But
yeah, I remember starting off in the beginning of Go Down Hard. Like I thought it was going to go down the road of like a revenge movie type, like I Spit on Your Grave or something like that, because of some of the stuff in the beginning. It took a couple of hard lefts, so but I like the way it went because it wasn't just your straightforward revenge story.
A lot of people have said it's not. I would hate it's a. People say it's a lot of fun, and I know that sounds weird, but
Right, in a sick way.
You'll understand when you get to a certain point why it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a cat and mouse game at one point. So
I had a hell of a time writing the second half of that book. It was so much fun.
I think I pretty much just did my review. I read it. I haven't done my review yet because I wanted to make sure you were going to be on the show before I before I did it. No, I'm still going to do. That was a joke. I mean, it's not going to be a bad review, but I pretty much just did it. So there you go. No, I'll have the review up later.
Everybody heard that. It's not going to be a bad review.
You're on tape now, Joe. You can't take it back.
Yeah.
You got to bump those stars up.
It was a good review for a pleasure.
Yeah, the 4.5, Jay.
Yeah, he won't let me live that down. I think you I think you have like a little picture of all of your 5-star reviews, and then a quote from me that said 4.5. I'm like,
I was just giving him crap over it.
4.5.
Well, I am firmly in the camp that really no reviews are bad reviews. Even
exactly.
I have read 1-star reviews, and people are like, "This is a pile of garbage," and this is it. And then I'm like, "Oh, I have to read that book."
Yep.
They still, they can still end up in sales. It's you want people to read your stuff. Not everybody's going to love it. I'll take 4.5.
I actually said when I saw your picture, I forgot that was my quote, and I actually said to myself, "Who's the asshole that gave the 4.5?" I was like, "Wait, that was me."
Oh no!
Yeah,
James, it's called Go Down Hard.
Yeah.
It's like Jay, do you have you don't have a copy? It's
on my Kindle upstairs.
It's like purple and red and stuff on the cover.
Yeah.
Is she holding a baseball bat on the cover? Is it a baseball bat she's holding on the cover?
I think so.
I have it. Wait, I have it right here.
It looked kind of thin. I didn't know if it was a baseball bat or like a pool stick or.
It looks like a fat end of a pool stick to me, but some people are like, "No, it's a bait." So I just go, it's a weapon.
There you go. It's a weapon.
Yep.
And there's a leg, or 2 legs, but one is kind of out there.
There's a leg.
Is it a little naughty leg, Jay? Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, no, because my wife did ask me. She was like, "Is that erotica?" Because
what do you read, Jay?
When I was making the promo yesterday or the day before, when I tagged the wrong person, the promo, and I already showed my promos to my wife. She's like, "Wait, what is that?"
She got that going quick, didn't she?
Yeah.
Yeah. Kelly's saying 1-star reviews. Yeah, it depends on what the 1-star review is about. Like it says, "Oh, I didn't like this because it was really violent." Like that's right up my alley. I want to read it because it's super violent.
Just a side note, my wife just texted me, said that you have some books on Overdrive, which is what the local library system here uses. So
yeah, that's what mine is.
Yeah. What's your other name? That's what she was looking up. So
yeah, but if you do reviews, don't be afraid to give a book 1 star if you don't like it or whatever, because that might make someone else entice it to pick it up.
Right.
Sure.
Because E tells that story all the time that Sadie Hartman 1-starred one of his books, and that like gave him a ton of sales because she's such a big name.
Mm-hmm. People want to know why. Why?
Yeah.
Right. I've always been the kind that, if I'm going to give a 1 or a 2-star, I want to give reasons why. I don't want to say this sucked. It's a 1 star.
Yeah.
I mean, to me as a reader and a reviewer, that's not very constructive. I want to say it's a 1 star because of this,
X, Y, and B.
This, and this. I don't want to say it sucked. And,
Right.
say don't read it. I want someone to tell me why they thought it was a 1 star.
You don't want to be like an Amazon review where it's 1 star because the post office brought it late.
Yeah,
exactly.
Or they buy a book with deckled edges and they think the machine's chewed it up, but it's actually supposed to be deckled edges.
I've never seen that before.
Like a Betty by Tiffany McDaniel has deckled edges, and I've seen 1-star reviews because they think the edges have been chewed up or whatever. It's like, no, that's how the book's supposed to be.
Or you see people with a special edition that's got black edges, and then you order yours from Amazon, and it doesn't have black edges. I have a history of that one. That's one that's kind of hits kind of home.
Mine doesn't look like that.
No.
Do you read any of your reviews at all, or do you try to stay away from it?
I do. I stopped reading reviews in my other genre ages ago because you kind of have to get to a point where you stop caring. But I'm still new enough here that I'm always very curious. And now it's like the environment is sort of like you can't get away from them almost.
Yeah.
People post them and they tag you. So what are you supposed to do? Don't look at that one. So people post and they tag you, or other people, people retweet them. So I read them, and if I come across a bad one, I try to just take it with a grain of salt. Not everybody's gonna like
Do
everything.
people post them and tag you with bad ones?
No, but occasionally you see it happen, and it's terrible. Don't do that. Don't.
Yeah, I don't think I'm
do
going
not
to.
do that.
No,
If
I
you
mean,
don't like it and you post about it, that's totally fine. But for God's sakes, don't tag the author.
right. That's kind of
Yeah.
weird. Like, look at this 1-star review by Ali C. Tag. And that's when you tell me, no, you need to tag the other one that I tagged mistakenly.
Right.
Would you prefer that people didn't tag you in any of the reviews at all? Like even for 5 stars?
I have no problem with it. I like seeing people's reviews. Sometimes even like To Offer Her Pleasure, you both read it. It doesn't have what Jason calls a button. So people who need that neat little tie bow at the end, they need to know the reason for everything. They're not going to be super happy probably with this.
Yeah.
And I've had a couple reviews that I've read, and people are like, what the hell, man? And it's just like, I understand that. That's totally fine. So I've had movies where I've watched it and it's open-ended, and I'm like, what the fuck was that? And then and then I'll have a movie that's open-ended and it doesn't give me a really distinct ending, but the way it's done, I'm okay with it. So I was fully expecting that there would be some people who were like, I've been robbed, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the journey to get there. Like,
right.
If you were invested in the journey and stuff, and maybe it's open ended. Like I'm fine with open endings for the most part. Like I liked the ending, obviously, To Offer Her Pleasure. I really enjoyed that one. Right. But yeah, I guess it just depends on what's the story leading up to that ending. Like Sopranos ending, I didn't really like because it's just kind of open ending.
But I want to say for To Offer Her Pleasure, it might actually help other people too to read other books in the Weird Punk Books library, to get the feel for what they're about to experience. Because I mean, not to start promoting them. I mean, I'll promote them all the time, but yeah, there's a certain kind of feel to those books, like I said earlier, and it fits perfectly, I think. So if they were to read some
you even said in the beginning it didn't
feel like it didn't
feel like it.
No, it felt like a regular coming of age story in the beginning.
And then it gets weird.
Yeah, but there's a turning point. Again, it took a hard left, and there was that turning point, and then I was like,
I'm
oh,
detecting a pattern. Yeah, maybe that's my pattern. I lull you in, and then I take a hard left.
I'm a little worried, Brad. She's got our reviews like memorized.
Does she? She got yours memorized because it was that 4.5, Jay.
Yeah, exactly.
She'll never forget that one.
I sit at night and cry. No.
Yeah, she wants to know what I took a half star off of for.
I know what it was.
There wasn't enough naughty, Jay.
I may not even know what
needed
it was.
More naughty.
Yeah. I don't even know. Maybe I don't even remember what it was. I don't know.
But to not to give too much away about it, but the figure on the cover is obviously in the book. Was it fun to create that character, that monster?
Yeah, she was. I was excited about this book because I had never. There she is.
That's a cool cover too.
And there's a good story behind the cover.
Oh yeah.
But I had never followed a occult, supernatural, whatever you want to call it, book to the end. I always would get to a point where I'd be like, oh, even I don't believe this, and I'd trash it. It's just completely. And this one I followed all the way through. So she was fun, and she was somehow meaningful to me, I think, because of what she represents, which I'm not going to say because you kind of have to figure that out. And once you figure it out, she makes sense. Yeah. But she was new. She was a new thing for me to do, and I enjoyed working with her. And she's a nasty little thing. So
yeah, she is. she's always hungry.
Yeah. Well,
how much say did you have in the actual cover?
Well, the funny thing is, I wrote this and sent it to Sam, and Sam was like, yes. And I was like, woo. And then he said, look, I never do this. I don't really do pre-made art, but Don Noble
he makes some good stuff.
Yeah, he makes amazing stuff. So I perked up when he said that name. And he said he put up this image the other day And I immediately thought of this image when I read the book. And I'm gonna send it to you. And no pressure, Sam, no pressure.
Right.
If you don't like it, but see what you think. And he sent it to me, and I was like, oh my God, it's like perfect. It's so on the nose. So it was actually a pre-created cover. And
That's cool.
it just kind of was like, fate.
Yeah,
that's crazy how well that fits together.
Exactly. Yeah. It was very kind of creepy almost, because he was like, this is exactly what came into my head when I read the book, and when he showed it to me, I was like, oh, there she is.
Yeah, they have a lot of pre-made covers. If you go to the website, it's pretty cool. You pick the one you want, and they kind of personalize it for you.
New one recently. Flesh Rehearsal.
He does all the Brian Bowyer's, actually. Yeah.
Does he do all of them?
Yeah.
Did you have a different mental picture in your head while writing it with what she looked like, or is what the cover looks like pretty freaking close?
That's pretty close. Yeah. I mean, because I don't know how to describe it. When I see things in my head, I see them, but they're not crystal clear. So there's room for, the horns
changing here and there.
The horns were definitely there. And the gown is definitely there. And the rest of it, it was perfect. So we got lucky. We got real lucky.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Laurel did show up, by the way. She's here.
Yeah, she's having a little conversation. She's having a conversation with Kelly about Kelly doesn't like when people put 5-star on reviews of Goodreads without reading the book yet. Like, can't wait to read the book and give it a 5-star.
Like
throwing her own little conversation in the chat here.
Like books that aren't even out yet, like haven't even been written. Like the new George R. R. Martin book that isn't even been started has 5 stars on Goodreads and stuff. That is kind of annoying.
That doesn't make sense to me, but
James says, looks like. Go ahead.
I said, at least they're not 1 stars. Not looking forward to this book. Venom. Oh, okay. It's the fact.
Looks like to me.
Yeah.
Jay is a tough critic. Get some.
I know.
I feel like you've loosened up some the more you've got into it. You were harsher at the beginning.
Yeah, I think I was. So, I have loosened up some at times. So. You're also we were talking about the To Offer a Pleasure, the connection with Sam. How did you end up in the new anthology, The Dead Inside? How did that come to be?
They put the call out, and I am like, I troll the calls every day.
Yeah.
It's one of the things I do when I write 500 words, and then I have to scroll through something. So I write and I check mostly Horror Tree. Shout out to Horror Tree. They've got me a lot gigs. But I saw it and I was like, oh, that sounds cool. And so I wrote this nasty, horrible story and sent it.
It is nasty.
And motherhood isn't always a pretty thing. That's where that comes from. We have this idea that it's so perfect, and it can be excruciatingly tiring and emotionally draining, and the world is not always kind. So I wrote that and sent it in and thought, oh, that's way too dark. They'll never take it.
Right. Well,
I sent another one. You were allowed to send more than one, and they both made it through the first hurdle. So I was like, well, if they take any, it'll be one or the other, obviously, because you can't, take up two spaces in an anthology. And I loved both of them, but this one was so very, very dark that I was really hoping that was the one. That story. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I got the news that was the one they chose, and that was.
I think if a lot of parents read that,
people are going to react to
exactly. Well, I think a lot of parents are going to be a little cringy when they read that one, because I mean I tensed up reading it myself. So.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, we'll see.
And that one, like you say, it is dark, but it's sort of like an escalation of darkness. Like at first, it's not like, without giving too much away.
It's very mundane at first. It's normal.
She's just in a crappy situation, and then it gets darker and darker as it goes along. Right. And the ending is just awful.
Thank you.
In a good way. It's awful in a good way.
Yeah. Way to ruin it, Brad. Now everyone's going to know it's got an awful ending.
It's an awful ending. Horrible. It's The Dead Inside, Kelly. that Laurel is editor of, and Sandra Rutten. Is that right?
Yeah. I don't know when it comes out. I'm not sure. Maybe Laurel can tell us.
I think
She did tell me it's December.
Yeah.
I don't want to say. I think early December.
Okay, sometime in December.
It's the cover's cool. Gemma Moore did the cover. It's got like a woman peeling the face off.
Mm-hmm. It is very cool.
So do you? Both of your novellas are short.
Yeah.
Do you like writing novellas or short stories, or does either one not really matter? Just depends on the story.
Either one. I used to write novels, like novels, and I have lost. I like to read novellas, and I like to write them. I think for horror, they're like perfect.
They're my favorite. Yeah.
You can, and if you're reading one, you can read it fairly quickly. You feel very accomplished, and at least
get that book count up.
Yeah. Because I can read long novels now, but I feel like they take me forever. And but a novella, if I can get through it in 2 or 3 days, I feel like I'm amazing. And they're fun. I think they're the perfect size. It allows you to cut out all the stuff that you don't need.
Yeah.
Because like I read a lot of vintage horror, like Zebra and stuff, and you can always, when you're reading those books, you get to certain sections, especially if you're a writer, I think, and you go, oh, this is to hit your word count. This stuff here, this could just be, you could rip these pages out and throw it away.
I've noticed that too.
Yeah, well, you had a certain word count to get paid. You had to hit your word count, and I think this is like the glory days right now of novellas. So many people are writing them, and people seem to like them. They fit into our world, our lives right now. So
they're short, sweet.
Yep.
I love them. And going back to that too, it's like they're simpler to read, just enough. They're better than a short story, in my opinion, because you get more of a backstory, but it's not over the top. Like I try to read Stephen King's To Stand, and it's like 1,200 pages. So I was like, you know what? That's like
that's 10 books,
10 novellas. And I tried to break it out. It didn't work. Like I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it like this. That's 10 novellas. I should be done before New Year's. It didn't work out. It wasn't the same.
We started New Year's Eve one year.
Yeah, it wasn't the same. So yeah.
No, I used to read those King books when I was young, and there was no internet, and not a million distractions.
No TikTok.
I would just lay there on my bed if I was off for the weekend and read one of those clunkers that if you had enough of them, you could build a house with them.
Right.
And now I look at a book like that and I'm like, oh my God, I just can't do it.
I have the whole collection. I've not gotten through many at all.
Yeah.
I got distracted with independent and self-publishing horror and dark fiction. So I jumped down a rabbit hole. I got all these Stephen King sitting here just looking at me every day.
I feel like novellas are sort of like a recent kind of thing, because they didn't have them when I was younger. At least if they did, I didn't know about them. So, do you know, Allie? Is that something sort of more recent in publishing novellas, like shorter stories like that?
They were kind of. I think they were like 50-50 when I started dipping my toe into horror, and that was just a few years ago. I think they've become very popular because people are busy and people can blow through them.
Right.
You can read a bunch of them. Lots of publishing houses, indie or otherwise, are offering. I mean, Tor does them. And
Cassandra Call's new one was Nothing But Black and Teeth. That's a novella.
That looks so good. I want to read that. Anyway, I think quarantine kind of gave a lot of publishing, indie publishers and indie writers time that they wouldn't normally have had. And I think we had like this boom. Everybody expected a baby boom from this. I think we got a real big boom.
Writer's boom.
Of writers being able to put things out. And a lot of them are novellas. You're cutting out all the stuff you don't necessarily need. I look at it like I'm writing a 90-minute horror movie.
Yeah,
Jason has that a lot.
Yeah,
in my head, like eventually go down hard, clipped along, like it was like watching a movie, and that's what I like. If we pull up a movie to watch and it's like 2 hours, I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But if it's 93 minutes, I'm like, yes, that's perfect.
I don't have the attention span for those. Yeah, and I've said that many times. It's like a 90-minute horror film is what we normally get for horror. Between 80 and 90 minutes. That's what a novella is like. And I remember Sam saying that they're cheaper to make too.
Yeah,
They're cheaper than anthologies and cheaper than novels, you know. So you can save a little money and just more money for the writer.
Yeah. I've lost my patience for very long things. I start to read things and people are like, and the sky was, and I'm like, I don't care. Where am I? Where's the next part of what's happening? So I think that's what novellas give people. And I think people are starting to realize that. And, you know, they're fun. They're easy. They fit.
And they can still pack a punch. Like
yes.
Laurel's Crossroads was like gut wrenching, and it's it's all barely over 100 pages.
Talk about parenting and cutting somebody off at the knees. That one was.
Oh, she knows. We've had this discussion.
I know she does.
I've talked to her about it. Yeah, we've had this discussion. Yeah, definitely.
So do you ever think you'll write a longer horror novel, or are you just gonna stick with the shorter stuff?
Under a different name.
Yeah, I'm a pantser. Maybe I'll use the name harder. My daughter thinks it's hysterical that my my non-erotica stuff is got all the, as she says, porny names. Go down hard to offer her pleasure. She's like, no. But no, I kind of write organically. So if something came out of my brain that was 80,000 words, I'd go with it. But my brain tends to like 25 to 35,000 words. Yeah. And I'm fine with that. That's fine.
Laurel said her agent told her novellas don't sell. I'd fire that agent.
Yeah. I could be your new agent.
Because Crossroads blew up.
Right?
Crossroads was an award-winning novella, right? So.
I don't know. Laurel will have to let us know. If not, it should have won something.
It was definitely nominated, but I tend to not retain information very long, so.
Oh, she said she did.
She did fire him.
Yeah.
Do you want to do a reading real quick, or do you want to play a quick game?
I don't care. Dealer's choice.
Dealer's choice. What do you think, Jay?
Let's do the game just to loosen her up some before the reading.
I'm very tight.
She was so nervous. Are you still nervous?
No. Tiny bit. No, I'm fine.
She's just having a mild panic attack, Jay. So
that's a little bit. She's dead inside right now.
She's dead inside right now.
I'm here all week, guys. All right.
The book that never dies, right?
Laurel says reading, but we're going to do a game first, if that's okay with you,
Laurel. Okay.
Laurel doesn't even know you're a part of the show anyway, Jay. So
I know, right? We don't need to bring that up.
So we're going to play a game. We're going to do a lightning round. It's sort of classic paper cuts game, right, Jay? Pretty good.
Yeah. Let's go for it.
Let's go for lightning round. All right, Jay, you put 60 seconds on the clock.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, I forgot my part. It's been a while since we did this one. Right? I forgot to put my clock ready.
It's a quick way to get to know somebody.
Wait. Okay. That's the alarm clock. I need a stopwatch. We're doing 60 seconds, right?
60 seconds.
Okay. And go.
What's your favorite holiday?
Halloween.
Dream vacation spot.
Road trip.
Nice. Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Favorite horror movie?
Oh my God, that's impossible.
Which one that comes to mind?
The Birds.
Okay. The Birds. That's a good one. Favorite TV show?
Also impossible. Hannibal.
Nice. Celebrity crush?
Julianne Moore.
Favorite ice cream flavor?
Chocolate.
What's the most treasured book that you own?
Mine.
20 seconds.
Nice.
Mine. I never thought they'd exist.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
I could eat anything I want and never gain weight.
10 seconds.
If you were in the zombie apocalypse, what would be your weapon of choice?
5.
Baseball bat.
3.
Baseball bat.
2,
Nice. Who's
1.
your favorite booktuber?
You guys.
Of course.
Womp, womp, womp.
So Birds, I love the Birds, the Hitchcock one. I remember watching that when I was little, and it terrified me.
My mother actually watched that movie as a teenager and was scarred for life.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being a teenager myself and being like in high school and coming home and hearing her screaming bloody murder from the basement. And I go downstairs and there's this little bird in the basement. And she's just losing her shit completely. And she's like, oh my God, you have to get it out. I'm like, you're the adult. What do you mean I have to get it out?
She
She's
made
like,
you to get it out.
You have to get it out. So I ended up like with a fishing net or something, getting this bird, taking it outside. And then it happened when we moved to another part of the county. It happened again. I was like, you have got to get over this. But it was from that movie. It was totally from that movie. She never trusted them again. That was it.
The telephone booth scene. I remember that one. I don't think I'll ever forget that one. They're just busting through the glass.
Right.
Yeah. That's a classic.
And poor Tippi Hedren, she was kind of tortured with that movie. That was yeah.
Kids today won't understand these classics.
I don't think she ever got over it either.
I'm surprised they haven't remade that one yet. They remake everything. I guess today probably no one would be scared of birds like they would have been back then.
Yeah.
It'd have to be something different.
Today they probably wouldn't be allowed to use real birds.
Right.
No.
Like there would be some sort of
It'd be all CGI and it would look
CGI,
awful.
yeah. So you'd see a bird go right through the glass. Or they messed up on the editing.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, you want to
But
do
you do your reading real quick?
It's full of cuss words. Is that okay?
Yes.
That's perfectly okay.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Now it's for people who don't know what it is, it's really skinny. It's a very skinny one. I just lost my spot. So it's really hard to find something to read that won't give it away.
Yeah, that's why we had Chad Lutzke on 2 weeks ago, and all of his stuff is short. We were talking about him doing a reading. He said, if I read anything, it'll be like half my book because they're so short.
Right. So when I did that, okay. Oh my God.
All of your chapters are like 1 or 2 pages. I like that.
I found it and then the book slammed shut. Okay. So this is like the beginning of this is chapter 9 because it really is 2.5 pages, but it's kind of the beginning of the end for Ben, who's the main character. This is kind of where he starts to go off the rails a little bit. So they didn't find a bridge or a troll. They did find something odd. What is it? They'd walked a good 45 minutes until the trail became overgrown. The area they landed in was a wide open space dotted with lumps and holes. A hole, Mikey said, shoving his head down in it. They weren't straight down holes, but appeared to go into the ground at an angle. I know it's a fucking hole, idiot, Ben said. Mikey laughed, his head still in the empty space, so it echoed. I don't know, Mikey said aloud, and Ben could hear his voice traveling, riding away but then echoing back. The boy pulled his head out and surveyed the swayback landscape. Fucking strange. Then before Ben could say a word, Mikey dove headfirst into the hole. Ben's heart seized in his chest. He actually grabbed his pecs like he was having a heart attack. He dropped his water bottle on top his backpack and raced to the yawning disk of darkness. Jesus fucking Christ, Mikey. No answer. Mikey. It's Mike, Mikey said, but he simply sounded far away. Then a sharp whistle that caused Ben to look up. From all the way on the far side of the clearing, Mikey waved. How? Ben muttered under his breath. As if he'd heard, Mikey gave him an enormous grin and yelled, Tunnels! They're fucking tunnels! Come over! No way, Ben said. Who knew how they'd gotten there? Who knew if they'd cave in? Again, as if reading his mind, Mikey yelled, They have struts, or what do you call them, to hold it up. No cave-ins, you'll be fine. Too low to walk, but not low enough that you have to crawl. Just, crouch. Ben considered just walking away, but he decided what the hell. It was the middle of a blazing hot day, and he had nowhere else to be, and no one waiting for him. It didn't matter one way or the other. Ben put his backpack on and ducked down. He entered the hole much more slowly than Mikey had. Once inside, he saw that distant light coming through the tunnel. He walked, stooped over like an ancient man. Here and there, the tunnel branched off to others, the light shining from them as well. It was dark in the tunnel, but not pitch black. He had very little trouble maneuvering. Within a few minutes, he reached the end, emerging into the startling light where Mikey waited, laughing. Is this fucking cool or what? He shouted, fist pumping the sky. Or what, Ben said, but found that he was grinning too. I wonder why they're here. What the hell they're for? Mikey shrugged. Who knows? Who cares? They're fun. We should see if we can get over there. He pointed to the far side where a sole birch tree stood, gangly and skinny in comparison to the rest of the trees, mostly oaks. He took off like a rabbit, darting into the tunnel, laughing as he went. After a minute, Ben followed. They managed to traverse all of them. The final one was a bit rough, as if whoever's handiwork this was had run low on energy or time. Mikey was ahead, yammering about how they could turn them into secret hiding places or a very long clubhouse. He suddenly hissed and said, "Damn it, what's wrong?" Ben wasn't very interested at that point, but it was the right thing to say. "I caught my shorts on a nail or something sharp. I tore them." "You okay?" "I think. I scratched myself. A little blood. I'm fine." And then Mikey, like any foolhardy boy who had very little fear, was off again. Ben paused when he found the spot, 2 indentations in the soft earth from Mikey's knees. A small nail poked out of the wooden boneworks and that braced the tunnel. A small scrap of fabric clung to that one, the worn khaki from Mikey's cargo shorts. When he touched it, his hand came away wet. Blood. He could smell it then, and something deep inside Ben exhaled greedily, murmuring to him to take the treasure. He did, plucking it from the nail like some odd cloth fruit and pushing it into the front pocket of his shorts. He hurried towards Mikey's ever-present chatter and emerged into the bright light of day.
Dun, dun, dun.
Nice.
Dun.
I did not like that scene because I'm claustrophobic, and they're going in those tunnels. I was like, nope, absolutely not.
I wouldn't go in them either.
Absolutely not. No.
By the way, I need to talk to Sam about the small font.
Right?
Is it me or is this smaller than normal? And I'm like,
I think it's my older eyesight. The smaller it gets,
yeah.
The smaller it gets. It's a good font though. Some fonts
it is. It's just me. I'm being blind.
Some fonts, when they're smaller, they're impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. I like the fact that your chapters and same in Go Down Hard are like 2 to 3 pages.
Mm-hmm.
1 or 2, 3.
I have no attention span whatsoever. Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, what brings that up? It's just I've seen books where, the chapters are 10, 20, 30 pages. I mean, break it up and I would feel better because I feel it changes the flow. Same amount of pages, it just changes the flow, I think.
Well, short chapters make you feel like if you're into the story, then you're just like, oh, I can fit one more in before I start dinner, or I can fit one more in before I go back into work from my car where I'm reading and eating my bologna sandwich, or I can fit one more in because they're so short.
Yeah.
So,
Then you see chapters within chapters. I'm like, just change the chapter,
I like short chapters. I feel accomplished when I get done, and I don't like to stop unless I'm at the end of a chapter.
Right.
Like, stopping in the middle of a chapter really bugs me. So if it's really long, I'll like skip ahead. Like, how many pages do I have left before I can stop?
Yeah, and then you have to find like at least a chapter break.
Yeah.
I do appreciate when people have longer chapters, they give you that chapter break. So it's like a organic place to kind of stop and just put your bookmark in and you know where you are, as opposed to a 20-page chapter and there's no break in it. And it's like, I really have to go to the bathroom and the dog needs to go outside, that kind of thing.
I wanted to add, without trying to give too much away about the story, with the stuff with the blood and what happens later on, did you take inspiration from anything with that, or is that just all stuff you made up on your own?
There was literally no inspiration for this book.
It just all came to you?
With the exception of, we do have a very, very large collection of old books, and there's just a lot of old stuff in this house, and we do like antlered things. We have our bedroom wall upstairs is just heads, fake heads. They're man-made heads, but they're all antlered. They all have antlers, and I don't know. That's
a really cool look. I love, like, I'm making a D&D, but just creatures with big horns and antlers and stuff look really cool.
Yeah, there's something about them, and whereas I can tell you exactly what the inspiration for Go Down Hard was, I could not tell you where this came from. With the exception, that's a lie. Here's where some of it came from. Not her, but quarantine. everybody, we went on lockdown and it was just like, okay, stay home. And people were like, well, what the fuck are we supposed to do now? But, most people did what they were supposed to do. So I started walking a lot. I exercise a lot, but that kind of made me like cuckoo bananas. And I was like taking 50 walks a day. And my partner, Jason, he would walk with me. And usually I'm the one who's always blah, 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 talking. And this one day he starts telling me stories from his childhood. And there were certain things in the book that were in these stories. And he's telling me these really bizarre stories. The shack was in the story.
Yeah.
And the tunnels were in the story. And the, what's the thing underground? The
like bunker thing.
The bunker thing was in the story, but it was much, 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 much bigger than mine. And I think that was it. No, and the pond with the chair in it. The story. And these were all bizarre little stories he's telling me. And as he's telling me, I guess my weird brain is like starting to like structure this. And then I filled in her and Ben and all that other stuff. But those weird kind of like almost dark fairy tale elements. Yeah. Well, all these stories he decided randomly one day to tell me, even though I'm the chatterbox and he's the one who just goes, So that's it. I was the one going, and more. Anything else weird? Yeah. So
I like all those little set pieces because they feel almost mundane, but there's something sort of different about them. Something weird, like the tunnels and just the weird shack that they go to, and there's maybe not someone in there. The pond with the chair. I liked all the different little set pieces to it.
And I said, "Where the hell did you live that all these weird things?"
This is all true stories. He grew up in a weird place.
None of the things that happened in my settings happened to him, but yeah, the settings were stolen totally. So,
who reads your stuff first?
Hi, NW Reader. He does.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah, because he's able to turn off that. Like I'll say, "Do you like it?" And he'll be like, "I don't know," because he's reading it. Technically, like this works, this doesn't work, and then usually he'll read it first and then he'll read it last before it goes out, and then I'm like, well, did you like it this time?
Does he like horror as well, or should he just read your stuff?
He likes horror. He doesn't really read. No, I'm joking. He reads, but he doesn't read fiction, is what I should say. Reads a lot. Okay. So my stuff is probably the closest thing to reading horror novels that he gets. He reads pretty much everything. But yeah, horror is our thing.
Have your you said you had older kids. Have they read any of your horror stuff yet?
My son started to go down hard, but he didn't finish it. But he's not a big fiction reader either. He reads articles and stuff like that. My daughter read the whole thing.
Have they read your other stuff?
When they were 18, they were allowed to, and they were like, "No, thank you."
That's just weird, Mom.
Yeah, I don't care. It's fine with me. But she also, my daughter has been published. She had a story in a sci-fi anthology, and she's a very good writer. And so sometimes I'll say to her, "Read this for me." And in fact, Cemetery Gates Media, the Cemetery Gates Society, they have up their free October reads, and Story of Mine made the cut, so it's one of the winners. I think they chose extra for October because it's the High Holy month. So but my story Bunny, I was home and I wrote it, and I had proofread it and read it out loud, and she was sitting there, and I was like, this one line I'm not sure about it, read it. So she read it for me, and she's like, no, it totally works, and it won. So it was one of the winners, so it worked. But she will read stuff for me too, but he's usually first and last.
Is she one of your, or are you one of her inspirations for her to be a writer?
I think she just grew, I don't know about inspiration. I think she just grew up in a household where her mother was a writer. Like you'd say, my dad is, my dad runs a grocery store, or my dad is a truck driver. My mother's a writer. And when she was younger, she had an assignment, and they were supposed to write a story or something. And that's what the teacher told him, just write. And I read it, and I was like, well, it's great. And it was, but it's one long chunk of text.
Yeah.
And I sat down with her and I said, let's do paragraphs. Let me teach you how to do dialogue. And so I literally had teachers who were like, did she really write that later? And I was like, yes, she really wrote that. She would never, ever have anyone, she would never turn in anybody's work but her own.
Nice.
But they didn't teach that part. They just told them to write. And so I think it kind of organically happened from me being in the house.
Do you ever
So
see your
did she-
books when you're out and about and just secretly sign them?
No.
No.
I would never do that. I rarely find my books, my summer books. I rarely find those out in the wild. I think I found 2, and we go to a lot of used bookstores, and I think I have found 2. I think I have found 2 of them so far. But no, I don't scribble in books without being asked.
I've seen Barnes and Noble seems to do pretty decent with putting weird punk books on their shelves.
We'll see. Yeah. I'm glad to see Barnes and Noble branching out. You know, we went, every time we go, the horror section's a little bigger, and they've moved it, and they're adding things. It's not just the Stephen King section anymore. It's branched out beyond Stephen King and Dean Koontz, who I don't even really consider Dean Koontz. The last couple things I read from him, I don't really consider him horror anymore. I'm not sure what I consider him.
So I'm glad you said that about the horror section being more than Stephen King and Dean Koontz. I notice I don't hear a whole lot about female writers in the horror genre in the mainstream. I see more female in the independent and small press. I mean, do you feel when you look at independent small press, it's more of a even, level playing field where women are represented more? Because I don't hear, I mean, a lot. When you think of mainstream, you're thinking Stephen King, Dean Koontz, maybe
Anne Rice is
Anne
probably
Rice,
the one.
And I don't even, for years, I haven't considered. I actually saw one of her. She went into I don't mean this to sound bad, but it was it like Christian fiction, or it was like,
I'm not sure,
following the lineage of Jesus, or I'm not sure what that was. But
yeah, she's got some. I don't know if it's. I know what you're talking about. I remember the book. It's something about Jesus or something on the cover.
Yeah.
Well, I was literally somewhere the other day, and they had that in the horror section.
Maybe it is. I don't know. Maybe it's religious horror. I don't know.
Like,
it's possible.
Yeah, it's not. I know it's not horror. I'm not sure what it is, but she it was in the horror section just because it had her name on it. It's just like some of the Stephen King books that aren't really horror. They just slap it in there
because of the name.
Yeah.
Because of the name. Like Elevation, no horror.
Billy Summers, his nose one, not horror.
I haven't read Billy Summers because everybody's kind of like.
It was okay. It wasn't. Have you read his?
So big, I have to be invested.
It's 500 pages. Yeah.
So it just, I think you get a better 50-50 split. I don't even know if it's 50-50.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's just something I've noticed, with the indie and small press.
I see a lot more women in indie.
Right. And some of them are the ones that I lean to the most, like your stories and Laurel's in the chat here. And, I've discovered a lot of writers that I love their work now because, it's more of a even play field, and it's, women are accepted more with the independent small press. The mainstream, it might still be a boys club because, again, you got Stephen King, you got Dean Koontz, and Bentley Little and stuff like that that you hear about the most. So
I feel like it's getting a little better. Like I always get her name backwards. Sylvia Garcia Moreno. She had Mexican Gothic, was pretty big.
We know who's dominating. Haley Piper is kicking everybody.
Yeah,
she deserves every kudos she has received. It's amazing. I've read quite a bit of her work, and CB
she's really great.
Is also, and I think what you're seeing in indie stuff is women being just as brutal as men, which you don't always see in mainstream horror books. You see, it's a little more, not always, but from what some of them are a little tamer. But in indie, the girls get in there and bloodlet just as much as the boys do.
Oh yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Because there's
you got like like Samantha Kolesnik running off
True
limit.
crime.
You know, she's got she writes and she also is running off limits. You know, that's you don't really see that much more in the mainstream. So,
And CV Hunt, she runs Grindhouse, right? Is it her and Anderson Prunty or
Yep.
Prunty? Yeah.
Yep. I don't know how they do it. They do a lot.
I feel like they just do it out of their house pretty much.
Yeah,
don't
but
they?
I mean they work and they do all this and they both write and it's like, do you guys sleep? Do you ever sleep? Because that's an awful lot of stuff. And if you ever ask them for anything, it's like, oh yeah, I'm like, don't rush. Oh no, it's totally fine. I got it. And I'm like, I'd be like, I have a lot of stuff to do. You guys need to leave me alone.
Now, Cynthia Pallaio, she runs a Burial Day Press with her husband. She puts she's like working on her like PhD or something crazy and has a full-time job. And
I heard
she's
her
like an executive and
kids and
yeah.
It's like, I don't think they sleep either. It's
she was like talking about her schedule. Like she gets up, goes to work, works on her schoolwork. Then like at midnight, she starts writing like her books and stuff.
So she doesn't sleep is what you're saying.
Basically, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, right. You get 3 hours of sleep, you get up, you start again.
Yeah, but I think indie and small press is a great place to sort of break the stigmas, if it's the right word or not, that, you know, horror's not for women or women shouldn't be writing horror or whatever. Because like yourself, Samantha, Laurel, just as good, if not better, than any men writing anything.
Right.
And just as brutal as well. Like you said, it feels like maybe mainstream
you have less
women aren't as violent or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, less people are saying, oh, there's less sanitization, you know, in you know, some of the stuff in this book, oh my God, that would never have made it. And you're allowed to go pretty much where you need to go to tell the story, which is not always the case with bigger publishers.
Was that different at all with the romance stuff? Did they tell you like you can't say this or can't put that in, or they just kind of let you do whatever you want there too?
Erotica and horror, they kind of get these, you know, they're like side eye, and somehow I've chosen both of those genres to write in because I'm a savvy businesswoman that way. But no, I there are lines you do not cross in erotica, and I'm sure we're all you only have to be an intelligent human being to know what those lines are. You don't go certain places, and other than that, somebody, and I wish I remember who said it. It was write your story, and if you have a good editor, they'll tell you what you need to take out. Meaning, like, this is a little too far. Just write it the way you want to write it. Don't try to tame it down yourself. Write it the way it's going to come out of your brain, and then you can always fix it later. You can tone it down, torque it up, whatever you want to do.
For yourself personally, do you have any boundaries in horror that you just won't go there, you won't cross, or is kind of everything up for grabs?
There are, go down hard, you know, as a trigger warning or a content warning. It has reference to basically a gang rape, I guess is what you would call it.
Right.
And I had started another piece. There are a couple things on my computer that just died a quiet death. I just left them to starve to death in the corner. One of them was about an abducted woman, and it got to a point where I just went, I can't put my mental energy into this. It was a little too far, and I wasn't willing to do it, so I just let it die. I may cannibalize some of that at some point for other things, but I knew where the story was headed, and it was too dark. I didn't think it needed to be in my head, and I didn't think it necessarily needed to be in anybody else's head. It was my creation. I was allowed to kill it quietly on the side, you know. And I think there are boundaries, but everybody's are different, which is you know, why sometimes you don't know it depends on what you're reading. And I've gotten into books and been like, oh, I can't do this. I think Black House by, I think it was called Black House, Stephen King and Peter Straub. It was supposed to be like,
it's a sequel to The Talisman.
And I adored The Talisman. I remember reading The Talisman when it was new, And it was amazing and so very well done. And it was also a doorstop, but that was back when I could read those things.
Right.
And I picked up Black House after I had had children.
Uh-huh.
And that was the changing factor for me. I started to read it now. At that time in my life, I couldn't read it. Could I read it now? Maybe. But at that time, I was like, I can't put this in my head, especially not this much of it. I can't, so.
I've heard that about those two books, that it seems like for the most part, you either love the Talisman and hate Black House, or the other way around. You love Black House and don't like Talisman. I've only read Talisman. I like Talisman, so I'm curious if I'd like Black House as well.
Yeah. I mean, we've heard from other writers before where I think Ross Jeffrey tells us every now and then that he's writing something so dark or so, really out there that it scares him. He has to like step away for a while, walk around the neighborhood and color unicorns in his kids' coloring books and stuff. And try to find those happy thoughts again because he just gets so deep into it. I can see where that could take a toll on a writer and get so far into a scene where you're like, okay, that's too much. Let me go over here and do something totally different for a while and maybe never go back to it because it's so dark.
Yeah. I mean, I might have to revisit it to see if it was the time but I got to a certain scene and I just went,
yeah,
I'm writing this and I can't do it. I have to put this down and, I don't know, go watch some cartoons or something. I have no idea.
Like, I'm not an author, so I don't know, but it feels like being an author is almost like being a method actor because you're in every character's head.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if they're going through the dark stuff, or if you're, putting out that dark stuff, that's got to affect you in some way, shape, or form.
Oh, it can affect your mood. Some more than others. I've heard people who get in very, very, very dark places.
Mm-hmm.
But, but it can be fun. Like in Go Down Hard, I was in both of their heads. And so then when they clashed, it was a giddy experience. It was great because you kind of know the inner workings of each of them, and to watch them just duke it out is a lot of fun. So it goes both ways. You can sit there and be like, oh, this is so heavy and I just need to do something stupid to get over it. Or you can be like, sitting there like a lunatic laughing in the middle of the cafe by yourself. And people were like, and I wrote a story in the book, the Big Book of Blasphemy, called Jesus or Jacob. And it was a very intense story and it was very heavy. And I was also sitting in that same cafe. And when I finished that story, I put my head in my hands and I started sobbing in the middle of this cafe. And it's either or. You're either crying or you're laughing. But
I got
James
worried when I first started Go Down Hard. I got worried that the part that we were talking about was going to be more graphic. I mean, that's just a storyline.
That's something you specifically don't like.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't like that in movies either. Yeah. But I will say it was done. Same with like Ross Jeffrey's Only the Stains Remain. The way it was approached, it was done.
I haven't read that yet.
With taste,
good.
Yeah. Well,
what's happening, but he doesn't have to tell you what's happening.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And yours got a little bit more graphic, but it wasn't too over the top.
I wanted you to understand how horrible it was, but I didn't want to. There should be no exploitation of something like that. I know a lot of people have problems with it. I think it was Edward Lorne who was like, I just don't like it. And I totally get that. And he loved the book with the exception of the rape stuff. But I guess
it was crucial to the backstory of Meg. It was very crucial to her.
Well, yeah, it was very important, but the rape stuff happens. And so as writers, we're writing these things. Yes, we're telling a fictional story, but all fiction is built on building blocks of truth. So there are things that shape our lives. And as women, one of the things that can shape your life, if you're very unfortunate, is something like that. And you having to get over it or around it or through it or whatever you have to do. So I tried to take you to the line so you grasp how absolutely horrible it was without being graphic and exploitative.
Right.
So.
And then you let the reader's imagination take it from there. They'll probably make it even
I
darker.
Apologize for that, readers. I'm sorry.
But James has a question for you. How much is already written in your head before you actually start writing anything?
It depends. I can start writing something with just a title. I've written whole books off of a title. Those were usually erotic. That was the erotic. But and again, those titles were not nearly as porny as my horror titles. But usually I work out a good amount of.
You said you pants earlier, right?
I'm a pantser. Yeah. So I get like the bones. Like I know maybe the characters, the beginning. I usually know the end. I might know a midpoint, and then I start writing.
Mm-hmm.
So like with Go Down Hard, I told you I was running a lot then. So I was running like almost every day, and I would listen to this one song, and I could see these people in my head, and I kind of got to the fight scene, and I went, okay, now I can start it. And then it just kind of, so I would say with that one, probably like 30% of the book was in my head. And then I had to go and fill in all the gaps.
Mm-hmm.
So I usually get a skeleton, and then I have to glue on all the meat and stuff.
That's a good description. Gluing on the meat to the skeleton.
Yeah. So
do you ever worry that you're going to forget something like, oh, I've got this cool idea or this cool line of dialogue or cool scene, and you're going to forget it before you can get it written down?
I didn't used to, but now I do, because I had something one night. I was falling asleep and I was very comfortable, and we've all been there. It's like, I do not want to sit up and find a pen and find paper or or grab my phone or any of that. I just want to go to sleep. And when I was like, I will totally remember this because this is fantastic. And I woke up the next morning and I was like, I have no fucking idea what that was. I remember thinking
I can relate to that.
Yeah. I remember thinking there's no way I will forget this. And that's the last thing I remember.
I do that with my reviews. Like I'll be about to fall asleep or taking a shower. It's like, oh, this would be great to say in a review. And then I completely don't remember it at all.
I do it for my reviews. And I mean, I haven't released anything as far as stories go, but you know, I've dabbled. So I would take a shower or walking a dog or something. And like, I got something. By the time I get home, I don't have it anymore. I don't know.
You get the recorder on your phone and just record everything.
That's what I need to start doing. Yeah. Like, text myself, keywords.
Yep. I got a story idea. I think it was last night. It was way late. And I was like, that's it. And I texted myself. And then I remembered, I thought of something else. And I'm like, and this also. And then, you know, but I started that story this morning. So it does work better than, nice. Oh, surely I'll remember this.
You definitely won't, because I don't.
Yeah.
Nope. Can't retain it.
Speaking of works and processes, you started it. Do you try to write every day?
I do. I try to write every day. And I used to be one of those people who said, you know, they'd interview me and they'd be like, what do you recommend? And I'm like, if you want to be a writer, write every day. And then life happened, and there were some, you know, stuff that happened a while back. And I realized that doesn't always work. So I just sort of write if I can. And even if it's 200 words. Today, I was a little nervous all day. I don't know why.
I don't know why either.
I think I wrote a couple hundred words of a freelance assignment, and then I wrote a couple hundred words of a short story, and then I did do some edits on a novella I just finished about a week ago. Just spell check stuff, and that was it. I'm still a writer, you know. And tomorrow we're going to the horror sideshow in PA. To just, you know, it's my reward for being on here tonight. So we're going to
she's going to scare off everybody else that watches this.
No.
You're not nervous anymore, right?
It's
Come on.
Me. It's not them. I am an introvert, and I don't like my face or my voice or anything.
Like before go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, so tomorrow I probably won't write, and that's fine. I'm not as rigid as I used to be, but I try to do at least a work week, like 5 days a week. And if I take the weekend off or whatever, that's fine.
Yeah. Like before I started doing YouTube, I could not stand. I still don't like the sound of my voice, but I absolutely could not stand it. But then you have to edit your videos and listen to yourself. It's like,
I don't like it.
I guess I kind of sound like that. I guess, supposedly.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
I finally get used to it a little bit.
When I watch this, and I won't, but when I hear it, because he will, I will hear this incredibly thick Baltimore accent that's just like.
See, I don't know.
I don't hear it at all. Maybe I'm just deaf and I don't get it.
I'm in Columbus, Ohio. Maybe it's because we have so many different accents in Columbus, Ohio. I'm not very good at picking out accents, and I can't do accents. I can't do impressions or anything, so I don't know. But I'm also half deaf, so that can be part of it. Yeah.
I think I think we
Same.
share an accent here with like PA. They kind of
Really?
Pennsylvania kind of.
Just to make your anxiety a little bit higher. This would be on Brad's channel. It'll also be on my channel tomorrow once I upload it to my channel, and it'll be on
all the
podcasting platforms.
Oh, good.
We're talking 6 or 7 different platforms.
But then it'll be over by then, so that's fine. It's doing.
She just doesn't have to do it
like
anymore.
2:00 in the afternoon, and I was like, "Oh my God, is it 8:00 yet? Let's just do."
You're gonna be in a grocery store, and somebody's gonna be listening to Spotify and listening to us, and you're like, "Oh my God,
I'm
that's
gonna be
me."
like, "What is that terrible accented woman saying?" And then
So when I talk, I feel like I sound normal, and then when I would listen to myself back, I was like, I sound so country. I don't really sound like that, do I? Do I sound country?
Don't. See, no, you really don't. It's a little bit. There's a little bit, but
a little bit of twang.
I grew up. Half my family's from West Virginia, and so I would go visit there in the summers, and I'd come back with a little twang, and then it would fade. And, so, but nothing. But yeah, I just hear myself on anything, and I'm like, oh my God. What is that? Because to me, I sound normal. Only 200 words a day for a year. Yes, it is. It's a slow novel, but yes. I'm reading a comment.
Oh, yeah.
So when you do try to write every day, do you try to hit a certain word count, or is it just whatever you can do? Do you have a goal every day, or just?
I aim for 1,000. Some days I get 500. Some days I get 5,000. It depends on the day.
Nice.
It depends on where I am. Like if you're a pantser, especially, I think other pantsers back me up here. You can kind of write yourself into a spot where you're like, well, fuck, I don't know what happens now. I feel like I have to go take a shower, or I take the dog. Well, I don't take the dog for a walk. He's 100 now. I take my daughter for a walk. We take a walk, or throw in laundry, or do something so that your brain gets to do something monotonous, normal, and then it can kind of, like, you'll be in the shower or whatever, and you're like, there it is. I know what happens next. And the one I just finished, it's like that happened like 4 or 5 times. I was getting so frustrated, and finally it knitted itself all together. And I was like, oh, thank God. I thought I was going to have, 30,000 words of nothing, because it was not going to, there would be no ending.
We've never really asked a writer before, but with writer's block, do you get it very often?
I've never had it.
Never had it?
Never had it.
Do you think it really exists, or is it just an excuse?
Well, I guess if you have it, it exists.
Right. No, I've seen that question before, just because some writers will say it doesn't exist. It's all in your head. But
well, I've had things where
contradicts itself a little bit.
Yeah. No, I've had things where I can't come up with anything that I really feel like I really want to write.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes what people call writer's block, they're sort of confusing with like a downtime. If you create anything, your brain is going to take, at some point, it's going to need to chill out, watch a bunch of crappy horror movies, read something that's not too strenuous for your brain. I always like reread books that I really like. Just not create something. Like when you're a farmer and you close off that patch of land for X amount of time so it can kind of rejuvenate itself. It's the same thing. So I don't know if it's writer's block or your brain just needs a break.
A little vacation.
Yeah. I've hit periods where I'm just like, I need a break.
But I think sometimes writers have used the writer's block excuse for like years.
They just stare at the blank page and don't even start. It's like, I've got writer's block.
I don't know those writers.
So is it hard? Mitch Seaborn's here. He said he's a pantser as well and sort of wrote himself into a corner.
Yes.
Do you have any suggestions that you follow, or to other writers, to sort of get yourself out of a corner if you get stuck like that, like in a story?
Well, somebody said to me, you should write the next scene. And this was just recently, so you would think I would remember who that person was, but I don't. So I can't do that. I can't write. It's very rare for me to write like a chunk from down here, like the end towards the end.
So you write sort of chronological?
I write very chronologically.
Okay.
And somebody said that, so that may work for other people, people who are not me. But I just stop when I write myself into a corner. You can sit there and fight that forever, and it usually makes it worse for me. I'm just like, I get more and more frustrated, and then my brain's like, well, I'm not going to think at all, so forget it. And then I'm just like, okay. So I have to do something else. I will actually like write another thing. Like if I'm writing freelance, I'll flip over to freelance. If I'm writing, a short story, then I'll go for that. Or I'll just write a piece of flash fiction, anything to kind of divert it. Because usually when you stop focusing on it, like so many things in life, you stop focusing on it so intently that your brain just kind of gives it up eventually. It's like, okay, here's the answer. Since you stopped stressing so much, here's the answer.
Sort of solves itself, works itself out. Sort of in the end.
Yep.
Have you ever got stuck in a corner and then sort of backtracked and then sort of started over from a certain point to see if you can get past that corner, or just plow on through?
No, my brain works a very specific way. And if I end up in one spot, it's usually for a reason. And I just have to be patient and figure out what the reason is. So that's me, though. Everybody works differently. I've had people who are like, I print out the pages and I cut them up and then I rearrange them. And I'm like, I'm sitting there horrified. I'm like, oh my God, that sounds horrible. Why would you do that? But, different things work for different writers.
So with that skeleton that you have before you're putting the meat back onto it, it's pretty much set. You got the beginning, you got the middle, you got the end.
Mm-hmm.
She's using super glue.
You're not. The little people in your head are not fighting back with each other, trying to change things as far as the main parts of it.
Not usually. Occasionally, I will be writing something and I take a hard left turn and I go, oh, that's what's supposed to happen. It can change, but usually that skeleton is a very bare bones, skeleton. It's really, it's not a lot. So there's a lot of room.
Got a lot of wiggle room.
Yeah, a lot of wiggle room, because I just tend to just go, oh, I have this very shallow idea and hardly know anything at all. Well, let's start this 30,000 word novella. That sounds good. So, but it usually works out. So I can't complain.
How many times are you in the middle of writing one and totally get an idea for another one and just put that one to the side and start another novella?
With horror, I don't do that as often because I really have to, I don't know. I think I have to think more and not plot, but it takes more mental effort for me to write horror, because there's a lot of things that have to, dots that have to be connected. They have to be connected, as opposed to an erotic romance or something like that.
Yeah, because horror fans are at least the ones we associate with are really nice, but we'll call you out on it if we don't if we don't like something that just doesn't make sense, because we've read it, we've seen it, we know it. So
yeah. When I was early teens and I've been writing forever, my mother would read my short stories, and she had this thing where if she felt like I took a shortcut or whatever, she'd put it down. She'd be like, I really liked it, but you cheated. And I'm like, and I would always know exactly what it was. And she's like, you have to give more about that. And I'm like, oh, fine. So.
You ever think of collaborating with someone?
No.
It's all you, nobody else but you.
Yes, it's just me. No,
it sounds like your writing style. If you want to write chronological, that'd be hard.
Yeah, it would be.
Sounds like for you to do.
It would be incredibly hard for me to do that. I can't imagine doing it, and I would never put anyone through that, because I am such a control freak when it comes to stuff like that. I have to follow.
Just so you know, Laura Hightower wanted me to ask you that, so I got to tell her that
Yeah.
Your interest. I'm totally kidding. If she sees this, she's going to kill me. No, I'm totally kidding. She didn't ask me. I was just trying to get you guys right together. So,
If you ever were to work on a project with someone,
she said no, Brad.
I know, but who do you have like a certain person like you sort of like their work that you think your styles would mesh good together?
Not really. I can't not to be that person. I cannot think of, I can't even fathom working with someone else. I would never want to work with me because I wouldn't. I would, no. I have lots of
She's just like, absolutely not.
No.
I have so many writers
back.
in horror that I absolutely love their work and I think they're amazing. And I would never put that person through having to work with me to try to figure something out. It would be a nightmare.
You're breaking Laurel's heart over here.
Yes, I'm sure I am.
I was just trying to, I mean, she's got so many like.
You're trying to start a fight,
projects.
James. What you're trying to do?
Yeah, but Laurel told us she has so many things she's working on at once.
She's got like 15 novels she's working
Allie's
on.
probably got several things working. I was just trying to add one more to each of them. Be a happy Christmas for me.
I just picture somebody trying to work with me. I just picture like this drunken fist fight or something.
That would be awesome. Make sure you record yourself.
That's what the book's about. Yeah. Just two writers fighting each other.
Writers fighting.
It just be pure outtakes.
Yeah. I do want to ask you, going from erotic community to the horror community, is there a difference that you notice between the two as far as like how supportive people are or how easy it is to work with people or anything like that? Or
no, I think I was a little worried about that, but they're both pretty. Mm-hmm. They seem to be two of the most supportive. So maybe that's all the side eye we get. I don't know. We support each other. Both communities are great. I've never really had an issue. I mean, anything that's on Twitter, there's going to be some sort of something going on.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up here in a second. First,
any kind of social media, it's like. People are so much meaner today. And I'm like, no, they're not. The assholes just have a platform. So they come out and they say terrible things. I mean, you go on YouTube cooking shows and you go in the comments and somebody has said something horrible about the person why are you watching them?
Yeah.
There's so much you can watch. There's so much media you can absorb. Why? So both communities have been great. And I still have a foot in each one, and I have friends in each one. So yeah, it's no complaints.
I think the horror community. People are surprised to know just how nice they are.
How nice people are, yeah.
Yeah.
People are nice and they're not killing each other.
They're super nice and they're welcoming. Like take someone like Megan Lucas that does, Songbirds and Stray Dogs. That's not a horror book, but you ask anyone in the horror community. What book have they read, that really hit them? And that's usually in their top 5 somewhere, and she even talked about it, like how much she's been accepted into the horror community with just that book. So it's just, so we're nice people. Yeah. Understand that? Anyone watches, we're nice.
We just read horrible stuff.
But along with saying that, social media, how evil is Twitter? How do you feel about having to like promote yourself on Twitter? Being independent, small press, promoting yourself on Instagram. That's just the way it is this day and age with try to get your book out there and let people know this is what you have.
Right. Yeah. It's just, you have to just go on and do, some days you have to play the game and it's no fun. And then some days it is fun. It depends on what's happening. It depends on the climate on any given day. And there are days where I've logged on and I'm like, here's my book, and I leave. And that's all I've done today because I can't be on it. Twitter, it can be a little more doom scrolling toxic than like Instagram. Fewer people come out with their teeth bared on Instagram. You just get the bots who are like, promoted on this.
Right. How annoying is that, by the way?
My life.
Those comments are instant.
I live to block those things. I know that they're going to just pop up any moment, on another one. It's fine. But people are like, just ignore them. And I'm like, no, block. It gives me some sense of satisfaction to hit that block button. Yeah. But Facebook is kind of useless when it comes to promoting.
Yeah, I haven't done Facebook in forever.
I have a page just because I have a page, and I put stuff on it, and I have like, I don't know, 8 to 12 people who pay attention to it. And I think Twitter, unfortunately, is the one where you really can get some traction.
Yeah.
But you have to be mentally prepared some days to go in there. You have to put on your helmet. And
this guy made me get on Twitter and still fighting about
Twitter on other days can be a lot of fun. It depends on the day and the people, who's coming out of the woodwork on any given day.
As awful as Twitter can be, like half of the authors or books that I've discovered are because of Twitter. Like if it wasn't for Twitter, I wouldn't have known half of the authors or read half the authors that I have been reading.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So double-edged sword, right?
It is. So
Do you ever feel? Go ahead.
Say with that said, who are you following? Who are you reading that from Twitter or from just your circle of friends of writers? Like somebody that we should know about that we're not talking about, or give us some insight.
Well, I just got
scoop.
We know if they wrote a big book, she hadn't read it, so it's got to be something shorter.
Yeah, exactly.
No big books. No, that's a lie. The last big books. I sound such a weirdo saying that. Grady Hendrix has written 2 big books, meaning over 300 pages, that I absolutely loved. And I just read the Final Girl Support Group. I believe that's the right title. That was phenomenal. And then he writes these titles that I'm always like, did I say that right? The Southern Book Club's Guide for Slaying Vampires.
Right.
Yeah, I listened to the audiobook of that 2 months ago. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, those were 2.
I have it back there in that pile. Back there.
It was a lot.
Pile back there.
It was a lot funnier than I thought it was going to be.
Oh yeah.
At times.
Yeah, those were 2 big books that I was actually sad when they ended. I was like, oh no. And right now I'm reading a Nightworms book, Richard Chismar. Is it Chasing the Boogeyman, Jason?
Chasing the Boogeyman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's sitting in there ignoring me.
That one, I've got that one. It sounds like a cool mix of true crime, but like stuff that really happened to him.
I was like, well, this is interesting. I've never seen anything like that. It's sort of like a fictionalized true crime with peppering of reality in it.
Yeah, because it's got like pictures and like
it's got pictures,
a lot of kind of stuff in it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm enjoying that. And I just got Haley Piper's book in the mail the other day, which was exciting. I'm looking at my stack, but I'm too blind to see
Queen
it.
of Teeth.
Did you get Queen of Teeth?
Queen of Teeth, yes. I think I've read all of her other novellas.
I just read her the Benny Rose the Cannibal King the other day, and I loved it.
Yeah, that's a good Halloween one, isn't it?
It is.
It's actually set at Halloween.
I still have to do The Worm and His King.
Worm and His King
that
one's good.
It's sitting in this pile back here too.
If Haley wrote it, it's good. Yeah.
I've read 3 or 4 of her things now, and I have liked everything she's written.
Yeah. And I have a whole stack of Grindhouse books sitting over there, and I can't see what they are. One of them was John Wayne Communale. I can't remember which one of his it is. I just met him at Monster Mania and bought his book. So there's a ton of people. If I interact with them on Twitter, I'm probably reading their book or own it, or it's in my giant TBR, my teetering TBR. I have
That's right.
I have a book rack that is full on both sides. So no matter which way you spin it, it's full. And bookshelves that Jason bought me for my birthday last year that I have managed between Nightworms and the Abominable Book Club subscription I have to fill. And we go to used bookstores all the time and get vintage horror and stuff like that. So
nice.
I don't know what I'm going to read.
I've got this shelf is completely full. There's a shelf here that's completely full. I've got a book cart that's full. And you can't see, but along the wall back here on the floor, it's just stacks of books all along the baseboards back there.
And how many people have asked you to read their book this week, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I don't even want to count.
I'm not turning my camera around. I got stuff right here you can't see, right here you can't see. I'm in the basement. I'm in the dungeon right now. So I've been working over here for like over a year now, and I just got my books everywhere. This was supposed to have been like the kids' play area, but when I got sent home to work, it became my little area. Yeah.
So when you started writing your own indie horror stuff or small press horror, is that when you sort of discovered other indie authors as well, or had you been reading it before?
I think they kind of happened around the same time. It was
Yeah.
kind of like, oh, there's more than. See, when I was younger, back in the olden days, I would read anthologies to find new. You know, you didn't go online. There was no Twitter. Nobody was telling you anything. And I would read anthologies, and that's how I found new people. And then you had to go to the bookstore and say, do you have anything by this person who was in this book? So I forgot the question.
Did you sort of discover indie horror the same time you started writing it? Okay.
Around the same time. I think I might have read a couple things. I think Nightworms was part of how I got into it. I found Nightworms on Instagram, and one of the first Grindhouse book that I read was C.B. Hunt's. Is it Halloween?
Halloween Fiend. That's my list for this month.
Yeah, that's really good. And that was I think it was my first Nightworms package. I managed to get the October one, and I read that. And then I looked at Grindhouse, and then there were people on Twitter, and I was like, oh, that looks good. And the next thing you knew, I had a stack of books, and I always try to order directly from them, or now the author if I can.
Right.
So the stacks.
It's a rabbit hole.
Yeah, it is. And I'll be like, I'm not buying any books until I read like at least half of these books. And then the next day, you know, Jason will come home, or my daughter will walk in the room, and I'm like, I just bought 2 books.
Yeah.
And
it's a good addiction to have. It could be a lot worse.
It is. And if they're novellas, I don't feel too bad, because I feel hope in my heart that I can read a bunch of them. And, you know, 4 of them is one big book. So, yeah.
There you go.
Right.
My addiction started out with just physical books too. And I was like anti-Kindle for the longest time. Then I got one, and I probably have like 300 on sitting on that Kindle.
I open my Kindle, and it's like, "Hey, girl," and I'm like, "Oh my god!"
And then
it's
now
like I forgot that I bought.
Yeah, well, because I originally got it because some authors wanted me to review their stuff, but they only had the e-copy of it, which I was fine with, and so that's why I got the Kindle, and that just opened up a whole new box of stuff.
Yep.
There's that buy now button is dangerous.
Yeah, and then like people would have sales and like freebies every night. I'm like, I may never get to it, but I have it.
Right, exactly.
And then I got Kindle Unlimited. What was I thinking?
Oh my god, you got Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah,
Kindle Unlimited is because there's so much indie and small press horror on there. So much.
Yeah.
Because I guess they get paid. Is your stuff on Kindle Unlimited or no? Do you know?
I have no idea, actually.
Because I think they get paid per page. Like, I don't know how much it is. Michael Clark was talking about it.
Grindhouse is not. I know that. I can't. I don't
think where Punk is either.
I don't. Okay. I have no idea.
No.
Yes, buying books and reading books are 2 separate hobbies. Absolutely.
They are.
And I have both of those hobbies.
Yeah, I do both. It's just, I got way more than I'm going to be able to read in my lifetime. So
I think on and go when the zombie apocalypse happens, or
there you
when
go.
The internet dies and we can't. Yeah. There's no Twitter anymore. I will have stuff to do. Right.
Like at least once a day on Twitter, I see someone to put their book up for free on Kindle.
Right. Yeah. And how do you resist
at least
that?
How do you
it's free.
You don't.
Yeah.
No, you don't, because that's why I've got 500 books on my Kindle.
You open your Kindle,
and you're making them feel good because they're watching their downloads. They're like excited.
Right.
I have 100 downloads. Yes. Maybe I'll get some reviews and stuff like that and sell more. And I'm over here like, I'll get to it. 2029. I don't know. So.
Yeah.
I'm curious if that helps out like the algorithm at all with Amazon. If like
people
buy a bunch of free copies.
Usually I remember this from erotica. Usually if you would put it up for free and it would climb, like you promote it and it climbs, when it flips back into not being free, your numbers are still up.
Okay.
That was how it worked then. I'm not sure if that's how it still works.
So does it count it as someone's buying your book? I mean, obviously you don't get paid, but
no, you don't get paid, but it
counts as a sale.
Yeah, it puts you up in the ranks. It can raise you in the ranks so that when it flips back over from unpaid to paid, it's still up there. So chances are if somebody looks for X, Y, or Z and your book fits, you're going to come up. So
cool.
Daniel Barnett, he's got an ongoing series, and he had the first book in the series up for free, like the last week or so, and he said it's about to have 2,000 downloads,
Right.
which if people download it for free, and even if only half the people buy the second book, like that's a lot of
Right. And
that's
that's
totally
a good
worth it.
story too, because you're giving away the first one in the series.
The first
for free.
one.
People
Entice
wanna
them with
know
that
how it
free
goes.
one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because then they want to know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like there'd be a drop off, but even if half of them, if 1,000 people buy a book too, that's 1,000 books that he sold. What's your puppy dog?
He wants to know what I'm doing up here, who I'm talking to.
See 100, you said?
He's 16, so
Oh
damn
my
right.
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can still carry him for walks.
We take him and he poops out and we pick him up and carry him home.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like, I'm done. That's why you got to get a little dog.
Yeah.
My mother had to carry her Labrador sometimes. I was like, you've got to stop getting those big dogs.
Well, it's Friday night. We know we've interrupted your Friday night TV watching and you're drinking. We don't want to.
Your wine drinking.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm late for my wine.
We don't want to keep you too much longer. Where can people find you? I don't mean outside your window. I'm talking, social media. We were just talking about social media.
I'm at AllieC11.
Not just Allie C, straight up, Jay.
For
Allie
those-
C
for
11.
For those who don't know, I made that little. I don't know if we mentioned it because we were talking about behind the scenes. I make those little promos for Paper Cuts Twitter, and I was typing in her name, and that was the first one that came up. I never followed the other person.
Didn't look at the picture or anything.
I did not. Yeah, it popped
So
up.
there's 10 other Allie C's out there. on the
Actually,
internet.
there aren't. So I don't know why they gave me 11. It's like 3 of us, and I was like, it said 11, and I said okay, because I was doing it like you're doing
Right.
something real quick, and I was like, fine, that's cool.
Yeah. So she sends me a message. By the way, you tagged someone else.
Some random.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, anyways,
That
go ahead. So on Twitter, you're AllieC11.
Yes.
11.
And on Instagram, I'm introvert_fitness, which has nothing to do with writing, but that was my Instagram before I started using it, before I even wrote horror. So I just had it established. I went with it. And then AllieC.com. So.
And is your website up to date?
It is. Jason just overhauled it, and it's beautiful. So both books
is Laura still here? Because I was making fun of hers for not being up to date last time.
I noticed that my and Jay's review weren't on your website, Allie.
They are now.
I'm okay.
Are
I saw Steve from Steve Hook on Books had one on there for To Offer Her Pleasure.
Oh, really? So, okay.
They're not. Oh,
They're not. Oh my gosh, what are we gonna do with this? I'm just joking with you.
Me being the official, unofficial spokesperson for Weird Punk Books, and I'm not on your.
You're on my Facebook page because I can easily plug that in. I am not a website person, but we'll fix that.
We'll have to talk to Sam, Jay. We'll have to talk to Sam about what's going on.
Exactly. So people can get your books straight from Weird Punk Books. And
or me.
Grindhouse.
Grindhouse has the Go Down Hard. Okay. Or Amazon if they go that route.
And they're on my site.
Your site.
Yeah, both of them. And right now, To Offer Her Pleasure, I'm going to do this real quick because I'm a mom.
Yeah.
My daughter just started. She graduated in college for illustration, etc. But she started an Etsy shop. So the next 3 copies of To Offer Her Pleasure that sell off of my site, you'll get one of these guys.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool. I like that. I like the candy apple one over there.
That's her favorite. I like the skeleton
worm.
ghost. And
It
then
reminds me of Michael Myers, kind of.
this guy.
The snail. Oh, that's cool.
So
snail with the pumpkin.
Yeah, she's Untethered Ink, and I will be giving one just randomly. I give goodie bags when you order right from me, so
okay.
That'll be your sticker in your goodie bag for the next 3 that sell on the site.
Nice.
So I had to say that.
Nice.
And that's it. I'm not anywhere else. I'm not on the Tickety Talks or anything. I don't.
Jay was on the Tickety Talks for a little bit.
I am on the Tickety Talks, but I don't post. I just don't.
It's so much fun just watching.
Yeah, I just watch people.
I tried. I tried.
So addicting.
it's more time consuming to make TikTok videos than it is to do my video reviews for books.
Right.
It is.
Yeah. So
I tried to do one video of opening the books, the copies of To Offer
Yeah.
Her Pleasure, and it was a nightmare. And I was like, I can't do this. I'm too old to learn this. I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
I'll just watch it.
Jay'll post a link to some random TikTok on our Discord, and I'll watch it, and then I'll scroll to the next one, and then
I know,
scroll. Then
you go down-
hours
you go
gone
down a
by,
rabbit hole with that,
and I'm
you're
still
just-
on there.
Yeah. You can. It's easy to waste a lot of time on there.
Exactly.
At least on the phone, you hit the back button to close the app, and it's like, "Are you sure?" Tap it
I know,
again.
'cause it goes-
You
it
tap
goes
it
three
again.
times, yeah.
And if you go too slow,
my
you have to keep
God.
tapping it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They know how to do it.
It's been a pleasure. We appreciate you so much for stopping by
thanks.
and agreeing to this, even though you were nervous. Now that it's over with, was it too bad?
Oh, see, it's always fun once it's over.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is the best
But
part, Jay. That it's over is the fantastic
I
part.
get to drink now, right?
you survived, though, right?
No, it was totally fun.
If anything, it gets you ready for all of your other interviews that will come out of this one.
Well, that's the goal. The goal is to do these things when they're offered to the point where they're normal. Now, I don't know if that's ever going to happen. Probably not. But
I'm sure we'll invite you back in the future.
Oh, great.
Okay.
I will be here.
So
She
again,
sounded so thrilled. Oh,
No,
great.
no, I really
She's oh great. I'm going to have to block these guys
like,
because I love
as
blocking
this is over
people.
with, unfollow.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So great. We appreciate you stopping by. I know, just two crazy dudes with microphones, but thank you so much for hanging out with us. It's been an exciting new episode, guys. Everyone in the chat, thanks for stopping by. Brad, any parting words?
Go buy Ali's books directly from her.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, that's awesome. Yes, do that. Thank
What do we
you.
have up next? We have we have something special. I mean, they're all special, I should say, but
This one wasn't special, Jay. Come on now.
all over special. But we have our little shindig party, right?
We've got a Halloween extravaganza coming up soon.
Yeah. So
gonna be fun.
that's coming up in 2 weeks. I want to say. That's going to do it. Another what episode is this? I've lost count. 14.
14.
Right?
14 and a half because we had like the episode 0.
That doesn't count. Again, everyone, thanks for joining us for our special guest, Ali C. And this guy still looking for a new co-host because I can't tag him right.
I've banned him from the Twitter.
I know.
The
He changed
real Alley C.
Yeah,
Right?
he changed
The
the
real
password
Ali
to
C.
the account without telling
Well, the
me.
real Ali C, please stand up.
He changed the password to the account. I'm like, I can't get in there now to do it.
Can't get in there.
We appreciate everybody stopping by and joining us. And for those watching in the future, this will be on Brad's channel immediately. Tomorrow morning, I'll get it up on my channel. And then, of course, all of your favorite podcasting platforms. And that's going to do it. Until we meet again, thanks everyone for stopping by. Totally appreciate
Thanks
it.
for joining us, Ali.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Love you,
Bye.
Brad.
Love you, Jay.